Hi guys, thanks for clicking on this video. This is really just a very quick video that I decided to film because I've gotten so many questions concerning this particular topic, and I decided it's best to just address it in the video. Sorry guys, today's the day that the South African rugby team won the match. So it's kind of crazy outside. Everybody's outside celebrating. You know, there's a small party going on, so it's going to be really noisy. Did I say my name yet? So my name is Mutombo, and people also call me Sassy. In some videos you might hear me referring to myself as Sassy, but my name is Mutombo. That is what is in my birth certificate. For those who are new to my channel, I'm a student of the University of Cape Town. So I currently live in Cape Town. Coming from Cameroon, I'm Cameroonian. Coming from Cameroon, I had to look for student accommodation remotely. So I had to find and book my room before even getting my visa to come to Cape Town. So the whole process was online, and I needed so much information. I had never been to Cape Town, never been to South Africa. Now that I've been here for a while, I just want to share some ideas and some tips that I think you should know if you're looking for student accommodation here in Cape Town, particularly for UCT students, but I think this can apply to students at any school. So if you are a UCT student and you want to stay in student accommodation, there are two main options for you. You can either take UCT accommodation, that is a student accommodation that is run by UCT, managed by UCT, or you can take off-campus accommodation. With off-campus accommodation, from what I've seen so far, you can either go with communes. Communes are basically shared houses where each student or each individual, because it's not necessarily students, each individual rents a room. So the kitchen is always shared. The bathrooms are sometimes shared. You might be lucky to get an ensuite room, and that would definitely be the master bedroom of the house that you are renting. So if you are getting an ensuite room, it definitely means that somebody else in the house has to share a bathroom with, you know, the other people. So it's basically just a house. You know the way houses are built, not every room can come ensuite with its own bathroom. So it's a house that you share with other housemates. So you can either have the communes, or you have actual student accommodation that has been built by private owners for students. So these are buildings that are dedicated to students but not owned by the university or not managed by the university. Which to take, UCT accommodation or off-campus accommodation? Honestly, I can't say for sure. With UCT accommodation, you apply and the accommodation office assigns you to an accommodation, and you are not really at liberty to choose which accommodation you go to. However, with UCT, the accommodation comes in tiers. So there are some accommodations that are only for married students, that is postgraduate students who already have families, you know, doctorate students and all of that. There are some accommodations that are just for second years and above, so you don't have any first years there. So it's mostly postgraduate students and final year students, maybe third year students. And then there are also accommodations that are only for first years, and there are accommodations that are catered, and there are accommodations that are not catered. So catered basically just means that they are going to provide food for you. You definitely have to pay higher than what you would pay at a non-catered accommodation, because you also have to pay for the food. Non-catered, you basically just fend for yourself when it comes to food. You're allowed to cook your own meals, so it's really just up to you to see what you want and what you would prefer. Okay, in terms of cost, UCT accommodation versus off-campus accommodation. When I went through the website and when I was applying for UCT accommodation last year, they basically just gave me one round figure for the cost of campus accommodation. They just said it's 60,000 Rand a year. So I don't know whether it varies from one accommodation to the next within the UCT options, or if it's just flat out 60,000 Rand for everybody, no matter the accommodation you stay at. But I do know that if you are staying at a catered accommodation, you have to pay 30,000 Rand extra, or about that. I think it varies from year to year. But last year, that is for the academic year of 2019, it was 60,000 Rand plus 30,000 Rand if you want the catered option. For the non-UCT options, the communes are generally less expensive than the dedicated student buildings, from what I've seen so far. With the dedicated student buildings, most of them you can find through Google search. You just go to their websites. Most of them, their websites are .co.za. You can check their websites and compare the costs, but I've seen options that go up to more than 100,000 Rand, and that is a lot of money. There are actually some more affordable options for the dedicated student accommodations, but those ones go fast. Like by November, they are already taken because we're all looking for a place to stay, you know. Another thing to think of when choosing between off-campus accommodation and UCT accommodation is how legit is it? Especially those of us who were making our arrangements from different countries remotely. It's very difficult to tell which is which is a scam. For the ones that are run by companies, that is the dedicated student accommodations, those are a bit easier to verify because you have Google reviews. When you go on Google Maps, there's the option of getting a 360 view of the place, so you can actually go into Google Maps, and when you go to photos, you'll see some photos that have 360 written at the bottom corner. So when you click on those, you can actually look around the neighborhood, look at the building, and when you see the actual building, if it's there, then at least you know that that place is legit and it actually exists. So what I would advise is that if you are going with the option of off-campus student accommodation, you go to the off-campus. Wait, let me check my notes. I made some notes because your girl is good at talking and just going off topic like I'm doing right now. Okay, so I would advise that you check the UCT off-campus student accommodation service. So you just go on Google, type UCT off-campus student accommodation service, and it's going to direct you to a website. You know what, I'm just going to leave the website in the description box below so you can easily find it. Go to that, and UCT has made a list of verified landlords that have rooms to let, and you know that are offering the commune option. Go through UCT accommodation, the UCT accommodation office. And you know what, the Bible says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. If possible, when you have narrowed down your options and seen which commune you would like to take, if you are going with the commune option, email the UCT accommodation office and ask if somebody can help you verify this place. It doesn't hurt to ask. So it's one thing, they might either tell you, okay, we don't do that, that's not a service we offer, or somebody might actually volunteer and do that for you. So just ask. For those who might be sorting out their accommodation late, maybe February or March, you might be in luck because sometimes some students who have booked UCT student accommodation don't actually show up. Like sometimes they cancel, or so there might be some vacancies. And if you go to the accommodation office and apply and ask them, you tell them, I know I'm late, but is there any option? Are there students who haven't shown up? Is there any vacancy? Is there anybody who has cancelled? Can I take their place? They might actually find something for you. I know of 2 people who were able to find accommodation in March. Good UCT student accommodation in March. So okay, so before I continue, one misconception that I would like to address about UCT student accommodation, this is also a misconception that I had before getting here, is that UCT student accommodation doesn't necessarily mean that the accommodation itself is found on campus. And by campus, I mean where you have your classes and your faculty offices and all of that. No. There are some UCT accommodations that are found on campus, but not all of them are. So UCT basically has accommodation and properties spread around the different suburbs in Cape Town, and the journey goes from property to property, picking up students and taking them to school. Each property has a dedicated jammy that takes students and staff to and fro. So here are some of the things that I think you should consider and really look into before you settle on any accommodation option, be it what's it gonna be, or the Bentley. Some of the things that I think you should really consider and really look into before you settle on any accommodation, especially for the non-UCT options, are: 1, the location. I thought I had to check the location based on the distance from the accommodation to where I'm going to be having my classes, but that is not what you have to check. What you have to check is the distance from your accommodation to a UCT Jammy stop. That's the important thing, a UCT Jammy stop. Because if you live close to a Jammy stop, it means that you basically have very easy rides to school every single day. If you think you'll be going to town a lot, I think it would be really good if you live, within walking distance of a bus stop, because the bus is one of the cheapest means of transport. And as a student, it would be nice to save some coins. This might not be important to you, but you should probably check how far your accommodation is from basic amenities like grocery shops. Here in Cape Town, or let me say in South Africa, the main grocery shops are Pick n Pay, Spar, Checkers, ShopRite, Woolworths. Woolworths is kind of expensive. It's called Woolies by those who frequent it. Another thing that you would want to check, especially for off-campus accommodation, is how long the lease is. Say for example, an off-campus student accommodation tells you that the rent is 70,000 Rand for 2019. Be sure to check 2019. What does that cover? Is it January to December? Is it February to October? Is it February to November? Check how many months your lease covers. You might have a place that charges you 70,000 Rand for 10 months. Meanwhile, a similar place will be charging you 80,000 Rand for 12 months. You will see that the 80,000 Rand is actually cheaper per month than the 70,000 Rand option, and it gives you even more security because at least you know that you are covered for 12 months. So really look at this and weigh, be sure of what you are paying for. Please read your terms and conditions, your tenancy agreement, read your cancellation policy well before you sign anything. Okay, so in terms of in-house amenities, things like Wi-Fi, because data is very expensive here in South Africa. In Cameroon, I basically didn't even need Wi-Fi because data was very affordable. But here, it is something else. You cannot survive on data. So check if you would have to pay extra for Wi-Fi connection, if you would have to pay for laundry, if they have these laundry machines that take coins and you have to pay each time you do your laundry. So what I just said for laundry and Wi-Fi is basically just for non-UCT student accommodation, because for UCT accommodation, basically all UCT property has the UCT Wi-Fi, and as long as you are a student or a staff of UCT, you have access to that Wi-Fi. It's very fast, it's very satisfactory to use. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is security. You know what, this should have even been my first point, because none of these other things matter if you are not secure where you are. You should check if they have camera surveillance, if they have some sort of guard or security option, if the building itself is in a secluded area, or if it is along a main road. The higher security is in God's hands. So guys, I hope this was helpful, because beyond these recommendations, I cannot think of anything else. If I do think of anything else, I'll be sure to leave it in a pinned comment below or in the description box. If you feel good about me, why not subscribe? So bye guys, and I wish you the best in your accommodation search and in your academics, if you are going to school, in your work, if you are just working, in whatever you're doing. So bye.